Welcome back to the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast. You're with Luke. Troy is going to be back with us again next week. I know that he has been a little bit absent lately, but he's just been really working very hard behind the scenes on a lot of different things. So I just thought I'd carry the torch. Make sure that things don't fall apart. It's got to keep moving forward. So we've got a great episode for you this week. We did talk to Ryan Bowles from the Create or Die tribe. Now, this guy is a coach for freelancers. I've known him for years and years and years through like the metal and hardcore scene. I actually traveled around the country when I was tour managing for another band around Australia. We went to 4 or 5 states, and I think it was like 9 shows in 8 days. So it was pretty crazy, but I got to know him really, really well. And he's a very, very passionate, amazing business person and freelancer, and just a person in general. So it was an absolute pleasure to talk to him. Also on this episode, we spoke to Dania Micala. She's the founder and CEO of the Dania M Group and the co-founder of creatorscode.co. As I said, Troy talked to this amazing woman. She had so much to say about social media, and she'd just been to a social media summit. So there was an amazing points in there that really, really helped us with our social media strategies as well. And it's really good to be able to share this kind of conversation with you guys. I hope you enjoy it. First up, we've got Ryan Bowles from the Create or Die tribe.
There he is.
Hey, Luke.
Hey, bro. How you going? Looking well.
Doing awesome. Hey, likewise. Good to see you.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's been a while. When was the last time? 4 or 5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah,
either at your place putting us up, or at one of our shows on the Central Coast or Sydney.
Yeah, maybe. I miss the band, man. It's a shame that it's not around anymore. But I know we've got different paths to walk. So
Yeah, I know. I'm actually like cleaning out all stuff in my room at the moment, just doing this big spring clean. I came across old.
Oh yeah, that's
the
awesome.
The old photos and journals and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a bit reminiscent.
As you're bringing them out, are you starting to get a little bit starry-eyed for the old days?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I just took down some flags that I picked up all over the world, off my walls, and I'm like, all sorts of stuff. So there's heaps of I've still got the old Overcomer flag up there.
Awesome.
That's going to be the last thing that comes down.
Yeah. Oh no. All right. So, well, thank you so much for joining us on the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast. For any of our new viewers that have come on, my name's Luke. Myself and my partner Troy, who's not with me tonight, run a podcast where we talk to hustlers, creatives, freelancers, business owners, anyone who's basically bucking the trend of the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday grind, getting out there and trying to create something for themselves. Now, Ryan is a perfect example of someone like this. Ever since I've known him, he's always been a passionate, forward-thinking, positive business dude. I mean, even when you were in Prepared Like a Bride, I remember seeing you in Newcastle at the Cambridge, and the way you had your merch set up, and you had a PayPal system. No hardcore bands had that. I was just like, this dude knows what's going on. So Ryan, welcome to the podcast once again. Thank you for being on. My first question is, I would like you to introduce yourself and tell us what you're all about.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me, and it's just a pleasure to catch up, let alone do a podcast together. So thanks for having me. And great question. How do I introduce myself? I like to do that differently depending on the place and time that I'm at. And usually at parties, I'll take people down a long-winded rabbit hole just to have some fun, which usually includes myself being some form of drug dealer or something like this here on the Gold Coast. Depending on who we're chatting to. But for you, I'll give you the elevator pitch that I guess I'm a creative. I was born that way. I didn't realize I was a creative until I failed art, and then jumped into playing in a band. which we eventually broke up, and then started another band called Prepared Like a Bride. So that's when I discovered that I was actually born a creative, and I had no idea because I had no encouragement. And that led down a number of different pathways of taking the band to a whole different place, to running e-commerce businesses, to running, or funding charities, to a whole bunch of different things. And now currently I'm coaching and helping creatives and artists to grow their business all around the world.
Dude, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to hear. It's really good to it's genuinely really good to talk to you. After all these years, and I've been watching from a distance and just seeing your hustle, and I've always just been very awe-inspired by it. I've always kind of looked up to you as a business person. So it's really good to talk to you about this kind of stuff. Now,
thank you.
Create or Die Tribe. Talk to me about that. I've been on there for a few weeks, and I've watched a couple of things come through, and I love the way you run it. But tell our viewers or our listeners what it's all about.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, for the last number of how many years now? It's started it's 2018. I mean, so to give you a quick backstory, during the band, that's where I learned design. And I was completely self-taught. I didn't study. I didn't have anyone help me on that. It was just purely peer group, learning, YouTubing, etc. And so I built a freelance business, and we did a whole bunch of fun things with that. And so I self-taught and learnt all of those principles. And attached to that was, growing a business effectively. And then as I guess, my audience, my community started growing, my influence started growing, more and more people would ask me just these repetitive questions over and over again. I started to realize that there was a real common struggle with the everyday creative, everyday freelancer. And I realized that freelance in general is growing at a rate faster than like the Bronze Age, whatever you want to call it. Freelancing is just taking off. And so people were asking these questions. And I thought, I need to do something about this because I need to help this problem on a broad scale. And replying one-on-one to, hundreds and hundreds of DMs and messages and emails wasn't going to solve the problem on a greater scale. So that's where the Create or Die Tribe was birthed. And Create or Die creatives are those that believe in hard work, in learning skills, in mastering them, in never quitting, in burning their boats, and knowing that if this is the only option, then there's no other path other than success. And so birthed a tribe, which, we're having a lot of fun. You've been a part of it, and it's been really cool seeing over now 40 different countries worldwide of people connecting, creatives supporting one another, and growing and learning together. So that's a little bit about it.
I love it. Now, you said that you were helping people one-on-one. Do you feel that as you were helping them, you were learning more about the way that your mind works when it comes to being a creative as well?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I love getting a question myself that makes me think, wow, like how did I deal with this, like subconsciously, or years ago, how did I work through that? And I never really thought about it or contemplated it. So having people ask me those questions that are quite pointy and challenging sort of had to make me look inward and go, wow, I got through this. How did I do that? And then how can that become replicable to the next person?
Yeah. No, it's like you're learning learning by teaching. It's an incredible thing. Now,
absolutely.
I did mention before about you being one of the most positive people that I've ever met. How important to you is a positive mental attitude when it comes to hustling?
It's just about everything. It's not everything, but it's right up there. And I said it today multiple different times. I was at church today, and someone said, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm awesome. They're like, awesome. I'm like, yeah, glass half full, always glass half full, always optimist, always see or know that there's a sunrise after every stormy night. That's just been my outlook, and it's taken training and practice and determination. It's not like that every day. Sure. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think there's positive thinking, and I think then you got to back it up with solid foundations, and you can have them in a whole different bunch of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that, and especially these days when it comes to Instagram, I spend a lot of time on Instagram with this podcast. and I look through, hundreds, if not thousands, of Instagram accounts a day or a week or whatever, because I'm on there all the time, and I find that there's a lot of people talking the positive mental attitude talk, but not really walking it. Do you find that as well within the creative community?
Dude, I mean, it was the same in the hardcore metal community. Like, people talking the talk but not walking the walk. Yeah, absolutely. Within every industry, I've got a friend, Jacob, texting me. So if I start laughing, he's texting me.
You're right. You're right, dude.
Turn that off. But yeah, in every industry, there's talk and then there's walk. So, I mean, yeah, there's positive, Instagram posts, there's positive videos and stories and stuff. And like, it'll speak to someone. I feel like that is, I feel like that if it speaks to one person, whether you're faking it or not, then you've done a good deed. Somewhat, surely it comes around full circle.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I happen to know that you're a Gary Vee fan. He's one of the dudes that, like, when I get up in the morning and I drink coffee, I just put on Daily V because it's just the way that I start my day. I enjoy his positivity, but he's also a realist, so he understands the process of, I'm happy, yes, but I also understand that, like, my shit is my own shit. You know what I mean? So like, he blames himself for things, which I think's very important. Now, you mentioned encouragement before when you were talking about being in a band. Do you find a lack of encouragement from outside sometimes does impact freelancers and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, in the small niches that aren't so small, band life, creative life, business life, I feel like too often, and I'd be interested to know in other different areas as well what it's like. I'm sure it's the same, but I feel like too often we feel isolated, and I've been talking with a friend recently that, you feel like I'm the only one going through this problem or this challenge. And my friend Chris and I, we're chatting, and he was struggling with a few things, and we always talk, quite constructively. And I said, dude, if you're telling me you're the only one going through this, you're being super selfish, not to understand that everyone's going through this. It's a very selfish mindset to think that you're the only one going through a challenge. And so, yes, within the creative space, I feel that part of my mission is breaking through the barriers of perception that everyone's doing great, no one's got any troubles or challenges, and just putting it all out on the table. And so that when it's all out on the table, everyone's like, oh, everyone's got their own crap to deal with. Everyone's like, got to struggle, this, that, or the other. And then you can start there and build. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what I love about the Create or Die tribe, because, everyone that's saying it, there's some people who are coming in and saying a problem that they've got, and then other people are going, oh my God, this person has a problem that I've got. Now I can understand that, like, I'm not the only person out there
100%
with that problem, So freelancing, how did you crack into freelancing? What was your first foray?
I know what it was in terms of design. I'm trying to think before that. I mean, through school, I remember, freelancing, it's funny. The more and more I think about it, talk about it, it's just a business. And like, I was thinking about a practical business model. If you've got a physical store shop front, and you don't have many customers, and one customer comes in, it's like you're freelancing, if you play it like that. Anyway, it's just some of the thoughts that I have. But in terms of design, it was for like my band prior to Prepared Like a Bride. And it was free work because I was doing it for our own band. And then same for Prepared Like a Bride, doing it for our band for free, never got paid. And then I think one of the first clients I had was, another local band who was like, hey, like, you're doing cool stuff for your band. Can you do it for mine? And, we'll pay you. So that was when it sort of started, when cash was exchanged. And I was like, maybe I can actually earn some form of living while in the back of a van.
Yeah, well, it's a very exciting. I remember, like, I've been in the same band since 2004, and we very rarely we play death metal. So, like, no one gets paid to play death metal,
So good.
So, we played a show about 2 or 3 weeks ago down on the South Coast, and we got paid $300 for it, which is like mind blowing to us. Like, we're a 4-piece crappy little band, whatever. So, like, to know that we've driven 6 hours and people have given us money to, like, do it, and yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
It is amazing. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so Ryan, what's next for you? Have you got anything in the pipeline that you want to drop exclusively for the I Don't Have Time to Work? Yep. Here we go.
What's next? Get your pens and paper ready. No,
that's it.
Currently, I'm wanting to really establish who we are as a Create or Die tribe and sort of the movement that we're on, and so I just want to add as much value as I can to everyone that's on that journey. I do have some ideas around things for 2019. Which I'm not going to drop here.
That's all right.
I will say it will be very, very inclusive and public to anyone that wants to be on board, which is going to be pretty exciting. And it's going to have the potential to really rocket launch a whole bunch of creative careers, just no matter what point of the journey you're on. But until then, I am just plugging away and helping people every day.
Dude. That's perfect. I love it. Now, before I let you go, I always ask all of our guests, for our viewers out there who are sitting on their hands wondering if they should jump out of that crappy job that they've got that they absolutely hate going to. And that's actually one of the reasons we do this on a Sunday night. We like to get people inspired on that Sunday night when they're anxious about going to work the next day and they're thinking, how am I going to be able to get out of work the next day?
Right.
What is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's sitting on their hands waiting for an opportunity instead of jumping?
Oh, do you want the short answer or the long answer? I mean,
dude, both. Whatever you want to do.
Well, firstly, I have to say that everyone's situation is unique to them. There's no situation alike. I don't think there's any rush. At the same time, I think there is plenty of rush. So, firstly, I think you should assess, do you have kids and a mortgage and a whole bunch of stuff that you need to provide for, or is it just you? So you need to know your situation. And secondly, man, for me personally, if I can talk from personal experience, I've sworn that I will never, work for someone ever again because, I'd rather lead people than be led by someone who I'm building their dream and not, my own. And so that's my mentality. And so that's a part of the motivation for me to make sure whatever I do is a success. And then secondly, like Jacob said it on this thing, just jump as well. In Australia, we're so blessed. We've got everything we possibly need to give us a shot. We've got more millionaires coming out of India than any other country on the world, and they're coming from a third world country. Yet their motivation and their drive and their idea of a better life is so strong that it will cause them to study, to learn, to make their job, their free, whatever it is, work. And so I think we can be very complacent here and and I'm speaking myself as well, we can take things for granted. But we've got every opportunity. We've got the same amount of hours as everybody else in the day. And sometimes you just gotta do it.
Dude, that's perfect. Ryan, thank you so much for being a part of the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you again, man.
Been a pleasure being on it and great to catch up, my man.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll catch up soon, all right?
100%. Thanks, okay. Luke.
See you, bro. Bye.
Peace.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Ryan's an awesome dude. Make sure that you go over and follow him on Instagram. And if you are a creator yourself, if you're a freelance designer or anything like that, make sure that you go over to the Create or Die Tribe Facebook group and see if you can get yourself joined in there. There's a lot of amazing inspirational people within that group. And next up we've got Dania Micala. Troy got to talk to her, and I loved listening to this girl speak with so much passion. You can hear everything was really coming from the heart, and as I said previously, like there was a lot of things that we took from it, and we were able to kind of use. It kind of changed the way that we thought about our social media and the way that it is one whole package as opposed to individual platforms. Look, let us know what you think about what she said. Make sure that you let us know about what Ryan said. If you like what you're hearing, let us know. If you're not liking what you're hearing and you want to hear something else or you want to see something else, let us know as well. In the meantime, here's Dania and Troy.
How are you?
I'm good. End of day Friday for us here. I know it's Saturday morning for you. I just flew back from New York, so I'm a little time jet lagged, but other than that, I feel good.
Awesome, cool. Well, I guess we'll give a bit of a backstory on, I guess how we kind of started chatting was we randomly just started chatting just from a few posts that I think we did, and it might have actually been through. I know that I did a couple of things with Hannah Carlson as well, and I know that we just started randomly chatting about social media and what we do. I guess for the followers who are joining from your side, what we do here at I Don't Have Time to Work in Australia is we try and connect and chat with entrepreneurs and business people worldwide. And I was like, who's this chick killing it on the other side of the world? Let's try and connect.
Yes, I love it. No, I love what you guys are doing. I think it's so important to be showcasing entrepreneurs in so many different areas because otherwise we wouldn't be able to meet. If it wasn't for things like this, we wouldn't even know about each other.
Absolutely. How crazy is it? Imagine 10 years ago, you're going, oh yeah, I'm going to do a live video chat on our social media. People will be going, you're crazy, man. What are you talking about? It's not going to happen.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, look, it'd be great to I know that we had a brief chat and you were talking to me, and we're actually going to try and talk a week or so ago, but you were at Social Media Week in LA, which I must say, a little bit jealous about. Can you, we do have things like that here that are like out in Australia, but obviously, the size and the scale and that kind of thing is a little bit different. Can you, for those who have joined from my side, would love to hear an update and I guess your experience from that week.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Dania, and I run a remote digital marketing firm here in Los Angeles, as well as an online learning platform for all things social media. So attending Social Media Week was something that was really important for me to do, to be hearing about what's going on, what are we talking about, thinking about as we move into 2019. So last week we had Social Media Week LA, and the theme was actually called Closer, which was really interesting because there's so many ways to become closer, right? We talk a lot about becoming closer with your following and building that tribe and that trust and those connections. But it's also looking at things closer with a more tech and data-driven perspective and really practicing social listening when creating these marketing strategies.
Okay, that's interesting. And so, were they? Was there a kind of push? Was there any kind of new technologies that you'd heard from that week, or was it more so just kind of, I guess, confirming and concreting the things that we already know?
I think a little bit of both. There were a lot of themes of things that I think are really important for anyone who is in the social media space to go and relearn, whether it's the basics of branding on Instagram and best practices with the newest features at this time. But then, of course, there are some amazing vendors at these events who are coming up with incredible data softwares for understanding your followers. And a lot of people don't realize how technical social media can actually be. And the more you look into it and the more softwares you use or people you get to know, like Talkwalker was there, Julius, and those were some of the softwares that were vendors to kind of show you and walk you through different ways of either finding influencers or even just understanding a demographic of a potential client so that when you pitch to them, you understand, what, like these softwares are amazing. They could even show you how many tweets they were getting on Twitter versus, you know, how many Instagram posts, who was looking at them, who was following them. So if you see a little hole as a social media marketer and you see something like, I realize you do really well on Instagram, but not so great on Twitter. It's like, bingo, that's how you're going to get the business. So that's all really cool.
Awesome. That's really cool. And so just really quickly, for those who have joined from Dania's side, my name's Troy from I Don't Have Time to Work, all the way on the other side of Australia. In Australia. I'm connecting with Dania today, and thank you very much. I'm glad we got this to work. Yeah, cool. So, because we're going to be recording this and putting this up on our podcast, so it'd be awesome. Like, there's a lot more people that listen back to it. Obviously, it's a bit of an odd time at 11 o'clock on a Saturday here in Australia. But what was the kind of we just touched on the technologies there from Social Media Week in LA. What was something that I guess one of the real takeaways that you got from it in regards to what you can kind of see coming in technology wise in the next kind of couple of years?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a combination of tech and creative, which is really important. And one of my biggest takeaways, there was actually what was her name? There was a speaker named Lindsay Fultz. And she, did an entire talk about influencer marketing. And some of the things she was saying really resonated with me. For example, being a digital marketing firm, when I'm working with a client and we're looking for influencers for influencer marketing campaign, she associated the influencer to the middle child in the room. As in, there's me and then there's the client, and we're not really paying attention or listening to the person who's actually the content creator, actually the person who has the talent. And when we say influencer, we mean, we mean people who do YouTube, podcasts, not necessarily, here's a product and let me hold it next to my face, which is, that's marketing in its own right. But unless you're Kim Kardashian, it's really hard for people to just buy that. So we're talking about the highly creative influencers. And, her whole thing was, it's time to let them be them. And it's time to bring that into our marketing strategies and tell your clients, they're an influencer for a reason. They create content, let them do it their way and their style. And that's how you're going to draw their crowd, as well as honestly save yourself a lot of time and a lot of headache, and just let them kind of take the reins.
Awesome. That's really good advice. I think authenticity is a huge thing. And that is definitely something that the people, because the people are judging now. It's not a matter of going through through a TV station and getting ratings and all this stuff. The people are watching it straight away, so they can see see if something is not authentic, can't they?
Yep, absolutely. And the closer you stay in alignment with authenticity when it comes to social media marketing, because we all see things online and we all immediately question, is this real? That's the first
exactly.
thing that comes to mind. So the closer you stay and the truer you stay to yourself, the better off you will be.
Awesome, cool. So Dania, in regards to your business and what you do there, it'd be awesome if you could just give us maybe a little bit more of an in-depth thing from the people from our side. Is it more so like you guys offer a service and you offer a service to clients and is it just social media, or is there other things that you touch on with them as marketing strategies and things like that as well?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say we specialize in social media marketing, which encompasses all of that. So it's everything from actually building out the strategy to branding, packaging. It could even be content or content creation for the physical product or the box that it will be launched in. There's a lot of different spectrums of content, as well as the content that you would put on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that, and understanding the SMO, the social media optimization behind it to really make these things impactful. So not every client is a full package, and obviously every client is custom. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
Some people just need content in terms of photography and editing. Other people need an entire strategy, but we also build strategies to pass off to internal teams. So if I'm working with a corporation and they have a marketing team, I will come in to consult, build the strategy, and they kind of take it from there. And I'm there for any additional help.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And what's your take on? I asked a lot of people that we interview and talk to about this, and I know that. Well, I guess you can use the prime example of Gary Vee, where he kind of cuts down all the barriers, so it doesn't matter what platform people are on, you have a connection with them. Are you? How are you in regards to your when you advise clients? Is it a matter of it has to be? Do you see a certain platform as targeting a certain demographic, or are you kind of like, look, people choose what platform that is, we've got to cater to that, whatever the customer chooses?
Sure. I think, well, so it's tricky to this is what I'll say. I'll say
Yep.
that I think, step one is that you have to figure out where your audience lives.
Yep.
And for not every brand has an audience that lives on every platform.
Yep.
There are many brands who don't really need to utilize LinkedIn, for example, if that's more a professional based platform, more business, more corporation,
Yep.
versus a kind of product that wouldn't find its users on there. So I would
Yep.
say putting your energy to grow the platforms of where your audience lives is really important, but I always recommend that we have some kind of feed through to anything social media, just because you never want to rely on one platform. It's everyone's biggest nightmare that we're going to wake up tomorrow and Instagram is going to disappear. Not that I think it will, but if you haven't been getting emails of your followers, if you haven't really been making real contacts, and for some reason you lost all of your followers tomorrow, even if it was a glitch on your own account, what are you going to do? So you need to make sure that you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak. But you do have to cater to the platforms where they live. So I would say use all of them, but divvy up your energy and your time to where your audience really lives.
That's really good advice, because at the end of the day, we are using technology, and glitches can happen in technology, and sometimes things just happen, and you wake up one morning, you'll be like, that's not cool.
Right.
So,
like I no longer have an Instagram account.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, that would just, like, a lot of businesses would just slam. It'd be game over.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Look, Dani, I'd love to hear a little from your journey. So often when we talk to people, we love to hear, like, was this something, the entrepreneurial journey, was this something that you kind of knew from a young age, or was it more so something that it just kind of fell into place as you went through your kind of working career?
I will be so honest when I say that I have had such an unconventional journey. It's been so many things led me to one place, but I do think I kind of always had the spirit. For example, when I was in kindergarten, I got in trouble because I was selling Barbies and accessories on the bus to other kids, and I was just my toys and selling them. And a mom called my mom and said, she's going to be a drug dealer one day. And my mom was like, she's going to be an entrepreneur.
Drug dealers really are like the first entrepreneurs, really.
Totally.
Like one of the first. They're very authentic.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot that goes into that. That is definitely your own business. Not one that I would advise, but
in theory,
absolutely,
it is correct.
Yeah, I think it was always there, but I was a jumper. I did whatever I loved, whatever I was passionate about. I would, anything from whether I was, in musical theater or dance, to then working in retail and fashion, and then switching over to headhunting and recruitment, to then finally realize, as I was recruiting and headhunting, I specifically headhunted for creative and technology professionals. And it was something that I always loved to do on the side. And I was reading these resumes and getting people their dream jobs and vicariously living through them. I just, and one day I woke up and I was like, why not me?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
I'm just going to do it. I'm going to start my own social media marketing company and see how it goes.
That's awesome. And here you are today. That's such a really good story. And I mean, what's that kind of advice that you would give to someone that it's kind of like, all right, you hear the old entrepreneur to a wantrepreneur. What is the main kind of thing that you see in people? Is it why they don't take that first step? Is it fear that you see, or what's the kind of thing that you've seen with clients that you've helped?
Yeah, I think one thing is that people never feel ready.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yep,
you can spend years planning. You can spend
yep,
years making the perfect marketing plan, going through your budget, having
yeah,
everything precise and correct. But
yep,
as an entrepreneur, especially starting the business, you will never be ready, and there's never a good time. You know,
yeah,
there's always that crossover of, can I finally quit my full-time job? Do I really want to walk away from that income, those benefits, all of those nice, secure things, which
yep,
many of us enjoy? And, you know, I worked in corporate for years and enjoyed them very much, but it just got to a point where I knew that I wanted to work for myself. And it was
yep.
just kind of time to leap. And I'll tell you, I leapt without anything lined up. I just leapt into
Uh,
it, and it, for
yep.
me, it worked out. And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who have had the same experience. You just have to do it.
Yeah, you know, some that we've talked to, and some that I've talked to throughout my lifetime, and a lot of reason why I've kind of gone along this journey is that the ones who have said that they've just taken that jump have often been the ones that have been the most successful without like anything really there. Because you have no choice; you have to make it work.
Right. There's no other alternative.
There's
So,
no backup plan. This is it,
right,
man.
there's no backup plan. We all have bills, we all have things that we want in life. And you know,
Yeah.
when you're an entrepreneur working for yourself, it's, you will find a way to make the money when you need the money.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And it's a matter of like I think a lot of the time, and when we've spoken to people as well, is that there is this kind of I guess what I'd love to get your take on this is kind of a thing going around where, you know, entrepreneurism does seem to be like the latest cool thing, you know what I mean? Or there's a lot of people I've spoken to, and they've got, oh yeah, I've got, you know, 50,000 Instagram followers and I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, okay, cool. So yeah, so, you know, they've sent a message or we've connected. So what do you do? You know, and it's like, oh, well, you know, I've got this plan and I have this business and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is it that you're actually doing? You know what I mean? Like, what's that kind of first step that you often see people struggle with? Is it literally just the execution? Is it literally just doing it? It's like once that first step happens, do you find that the flow just works for people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. If I understand what you're asking correctly, like, what do I see in terms of like
Sorry, I
how
went on a
people
bit of
struggle?
a tangent there. Sorry about
So it's
that.
like, how are they struggling in the
How are
beginning?
they struggling? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, I think so here's one real truth is that most entrepreneurs are not really great at the organizational and administrative skill set. And
Yep.
so, you know, I'll be honest,
I
for
would agree.
me, that is not my strong suit. I am the creative. I am on the fly. I want to do this. I want to do that. And the last thing I
Yep.
want to do is invoicing, bookkeeping, you know, actually tidying all of those little things that you feel don't have to do with the business, but they're the biggest part of the business.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
that's the backbone. That's the back end, you know?
Yep.
So that's something that I've seen that people kind of forget to do that. And my advice is
Yep.
that if you're really not going to do it for yourself, the most beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is that you have the opportunity to hire someone who doesn't have the skill sets that you do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that if you can't do it, you're bringing yourself with a team of complementary individuals who all have different skill sets to help, you know, for the
Yep.
overall mission.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and that actually leads me into the next question, which I was going to ask was how important do you feel it is? And you hear a lot of successful entrepreneurs say this about surrounding yourself with people in your team who are actually better than what you are, or smarter than what you are in their areas. Like, how important is that team factor for you? How important is it to surround yourself with like-minded people who have those extra skills that you know you may lack or not as confident at?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most important thing in the world, you know, in general. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter if you work full time, you know, for a corporation. It doesn't matter if you're in college or in school, but if you are the smartest person in the room, like the saying goes, you know, that's a problem. You always want to be around people who can help you grow and support you, or, you know, are like-minded with you in some way, because that's going to keep you on track, and it's going to, you know, you'll keep building your world, and you'll find that in entrepreneurship, things have different phases. There are times where things
Yep.
can get a little bit lonely because you're not finding the right people. But if you keep doing what you are doing, you will eventually find the right people for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, Dania, this has been great. I mean, I'm sitting here in the sun. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning in Australia.
Amazing.
I could literally just keep chatting like all day about this, but I don't want to keep you too much longer, because I know it's a Friday evening over there. So, and I'm sure you've had a very busy week. I know you've been jetting around. Just to get back, I'd love to just ask just a couple more things, but I would love to touch on again in regards to Social Media Week that you were at before. Was there someone, I know you mentioned that lady before that did that speech that you really took something from. Was there anyone else there? I guess somewhat like a connection that you may have met, or someone that you may have just bumped into randomly there? Because I always talk to people about networking and that kind of thing. I'd love to get your take on how important it is to network, and how important it is to talk to like-minded people, and you know, what kind of things I guess my question is, what's the kind of best deal or best thing that's happened for you just purely from a network, someone that you bumped into at a random event or randomly online?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, for example, it wasn't necessarily Social Media Week last week, but I just flew back to LA from MongoDB World 2018. For those of you who might not know, MongoDB is a software, but I had the opportunity to meet and network and connect with some of, you know, the top tech professionals in New York City, and people that I've been following on Instagram as well. And just through the power of Instagram, finding that we were all going to be in the same area at the same time, we were able to link up, and I felt like I knew these people for years. Wow. So Instagram was really my networking tool to meet everyone in the same place. And I've made amazing friendships off of it. I started a business. I co-founded Creators Code with a girl that I met on Instagram, and only met her in person for the first time a few days ago at MongoDB.
Wow. How awesome is that?
It was amazing, because again, you know, we see so much online and you're always skeptical. But I think there's some kind of power about Instagram that you can really see so much of, like a day in the life of a person, that you can feel when they are authentic or genuine or like-minded to you. And when I met her again, it was like I knew her for years, and it was like, this is fantastic. Like, we're real life friends.
That's amazing. And like literally I saw an interview, and I've seen lots of these, and we know how big VR and that kind of thing is going to be in the years to come. But I think it's amazing that, like, literally, like in 5-10 years time, it could possibly be that we literally, rather than talking like this, we would literally be in the same room, you know, chatting. You know what I mean? Like, via like that kind of thing blows your mind, and you think that's not, but that is the future. That is what it is, and people have to stay open-minded like that. And I think what you've just mentioned, literally starting a business from someone that you met online, and what you've only met a few days ago.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
We've been hosting Tech Tuesdays together on Instagram Live for, you know, a few months, and we had this great idea, and we had really good synergy, so we just went for it. We've been having Saturday morning work meetings where we work, you know, via video or Google Chat for like 3 to 4 hours, and that's kind of how things have evolved. Even in my own business, my employees are remote employees, so that's how we do
That's
things.
awesome. That's awesome. And I don't know about you, but I know that when I've had things like that, and we've got a bit of a crew with this, but I do have a couple other projects, and we are all remote, and like literally we live in like 5 different parts of the world, but it's possible. Like, people have got to stop thinking that I've got to drive to my work. It's literally, you can have these connections and start online businesses with anyone in the world. There's no excuses.
Absolutely, especially like the power of LinkedIn too. If you can master LinkedIn and build, you know, connections that way, the amount of networking I did on LinkedIn, every job I ever had where I worked for someone else, it was offered to me on LinkedIn. They found me on LinkedIn to interview me. So to me, social media is the best way to network.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
in real life too, going to these events is really, really important because these are your
yeah,
connections. And not only are you building your world, but you're building friendships, and people do
yeah.
business with people they like. So at the end of the day, they have to like you to do business with you. So it's all about being there and just building those relationships.
That's awesome, Dania. Look, thank you so much for joining us. I will have to go in a sec because I've got my little fellas coming out here in a minute, so I'm going
No
to
worries, no worries.
go kicking the ball around. But look, honestly, I would love to organise this again. Hopefully the chat when works next time when I try to call you, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
But look, no, it's been a pleasure, and look, thank you for being part of the I Don't Have Time to Work community, and I would love. Actually, yeah, if we could chat again, that'd be awesome to get another update maybe in the next month or so. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, let me know. I would love it. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. Again, guys, we all met on Instagram. So
Exactly
so
right.
keep your eyes open for like-minded people who you want to have conversations with and give back to your community.
Absolutely. No, it's really good, and we love to hear people who are doing things. I mean, even if people listen back to hear this and we just inspire one person to take that first step, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Enjoy your Saturday.
Thanks, Dania, and thank you. I'll jump on after this, and I'll rip the video down, and we'll have it recorded, and we'll get it up on the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast for anyone who wants to tune in. And obviously, anyone from our side, make sure you give Dania a follow. She has some really awesome stuff that she puts up, and it's really great to hear things and perspectives from people on the other side of the world. We sometimes feel a little bit left out down here. We want to hustle and we want to do all these things, but we're on the other side of the world. We're so far away.
Yeah.
But
Feel free to DM me, ask me questions. I respond.
Absolutely.
I really do respond. So just message me.
I can verify that. I can verify that, guys.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you so much, Dani. You have an awesome day and awesome weekend, and let's chat soon.
Sounds good.
All right, that wraps up another episode of the I Don't Have Time to Work podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we're changing our schedule a little bit, so our podcasts are going to come out on different days now. They're going to come out on Sunday nights. It just creates a lot more of a flow for everyone. And don't forget, every Sunday night, we're going to have live on Instagram, 8 p.m. every Sunday night, Sydney, Australia time. We get on, we're going to talk to different people, talk amongst ourselves about different subjects around being an entrepreneur, business owner, or creator, the challenges, the triumphs, all that kind of stuff. So make sure that you join us and make sure that you check us out on Twitch. We're on Twitch every Tuesday. We've got our own channel at I Don't Have Time to Work, and all of our social media channels are basically at I Don't Have Time to Work. Just search us, you'll find us, or what we'll do is we'll drop the links in below where you either hear this podcast or if you see this YouTube video or if you're on Facebook. Also, our podcast is now available on basically every platform you could possibly think of. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, we're on Google Play, we're on everything. So there's no excuse not to listen and to get inspired. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.